is there any possibility to continue the concept of an iconic watch, made in a way to intrigue and to offer a new flavor to it? I think so, and the Edox Skydiver Neptunian is the living proof. Because we are not talking about a pure homage or a one-to-one replica of the Sea Dweller Deepsea. We are talking about a tool watch designed from the base of the crowned one, but made in a happier way. Have I lost my mind? No, at least not yet. The Swiss manufacturer Edox has as well a lot of heritage and a lot of watches to revive from their past. They have revived the Skydiver 70s, the model reviewed last year, the Hydrosa, but also the vintage-inspired Skydiver. However, they have also the reflex to look at the market for successful models and recreate them in their own way. And it is the case because today we are reviewing a tool inspired from the Cameron's preferred diver watch, the Rolex Sea Dweller Deepsea. So a tool watch with extra features compared to the normal desk divers, which comes as well with a higher depth rating of 1000 meters. Now, if we have to describe in a few keywords the Skydiver Neptunian, we would say that it is sporty, it is elegant, happy, purposeful and affordable. These are the main attributes discovered by myself during my vacation. But a thing to remember, in my opinion, the Skydiver is one of the most good-looking sport watches out there. The dials are elegant but super fun. The colors proposed for this model are simply beautiful. And the light blue, the orange and the green ones are my preferred versions. However, if you're interested in this model, you have to expect and to meet a tool watch with a higher depth rating, which is not lightweight either. My initial assessment was that it is compact and wearable as a desk diver. I mean, it is wearable, but if you care about your desk, you should probably use it in other circumstances. When I've seen for the first time the Neptunian and tried it on, I was astonished by the size of it, and I eventually ended up buying the Skydiver 70s because it was way smaller and way more comfortable, which is exactly what I was looking for back then. But later on, when I decided that I want a robust, capable diver in my collection, I was pretty sure that this is the right pick for me, so I basically knew what I was buying. And yes, maybe you have to experience this watch live before choosing to buy such a happy tool. And the design of the Skydiver Neptunian, it is pretty robust indeed, and measures 44mm in diameter, having 51mm in width, 15.7mm in height, 21mm between the lugs, and weighs 203 grams with the bracelet adjusted for 7-inch wrist. The watch features a sapphire crystal, a ceramic bezel insert, a screw-down crown and a helium escape valve which ensures 1000 meters water resistance. And underneath the embossed caseback we have the caliber 80, which is actually the Serita SW200-1 movement. And as for color options, this model is slightly adjusted and offered in 9 color versions, where 3 of them have numerals on the ceramic bezel insert, where the normal ones as this model have only the markers. And yes, as I mentioned, my preferred ones are the blue one, the orange, but also the newly launched blue marine version, which is slightly different than the colored ones. Now, looking at the beautiful orange dial in combination with the sharpened markers and the hands against the beautiful surface, for me this is the perfect combination. So we can say a lot of things about this diver, but when it comes to aspect, it is simply appealing. The dial has a lacquered appearance, an intense orange which fades towards the labeled chapter ring. And I did watch carefully how the fumé tone is combined with the chapter ring, and I was amazed by the fact that the chapter ring feels to be in a different color because it is angled, but still it is colored in a way to match exactly the darker tone of the dial, so props to that. As an evolution of the hands, the first version of the Skydiver 70s, as you know, had classic Rolex hands with the iconic Mercedes pip. And recently, for the newer 70s and the Neptunian, the brand proposed a triangled Mercedes hour hand, so inspired but pretty far from the roots. The lume is pretty good. The Superluminova X1 has good intensity when ignited, however it fades faster than the classic blue Swiss Superluminova. But I do love still how the lumed markers are surrounded by the metallic borders, which sit very well on the lacquered orange surface alongside the hands. And I also like the Skydiver label from the bottom of the dial, which breaks a bit the elegant design of the dial. And moving to the ceramic bezel, we have a unidirectional bezel with 60 clicks. The bezel layout consists in primary and secondary markers without numerals. This feature without numerals is specific in general for vintage watches, but I do love this addition because it ensures more symmetry to the entire watch. And speaking about symmetry, I always end up looking at the offset spacing between the water resistant and the 100 meters labels. Somehow the text is fit to fill the space from 9 to 12 o'clock, and then there is a little gap covered by a dash, and then starting the next label from 12:02. And I would say it does not ruin the dial composition as a whole, but in detail it might. Now looking a bit at the case, the design of it in my view is very appealing and more certain than the 70s model. The angles are sharper and the side chamfers are better defined. And I do love the fact that the crown was increased proportionally once with the scaling in size of the case, so it ensures a mechanically pleasing effect to operate the crown. And then as extra details there is the helium escape valve at 9 o'clock without any supplementary engravings, but a cool addition to the left hand side of the case. And speaking about polished elements, the case blends very well with the bracelet links, combining brushed elements on the side and middle polished links, ending up with a fully brushed clasp signed by the brand. On the wrist, the watch offers the ability to adjust the bracelet and to find the ideal balance due to the diverse extension feature. However, I'm not particularly satisfied with the comfort offered. The watch case is pretty heavy and the bracelet design or the clasp cannot retain the watch in place, so it gets a wobbly feeling on the wrist. The only solution is to keep the bracelet pretty tight against the wrist, but this is not an option either because it's not that comfortable, at least for my standards. So the Neptunian is at the opposite pole compared to the 70s model in terms of comfort. But I still want to try their integrated rubber strap, which hopefully will ensure more comfort on the wrist. And as a final conclusion, the Skydiver Neptunian was indeed love at the first sight, but online. When I've seen it in flesh, I was overwhelmed by the size of it. In my view, I was expecting to find it smaller. However, when I bought it as pre-owned, I knew what I was buying because, as I said, I didn't have any higher depth rating diver in my collection. So yes, it was a blessing for me to have it in my vacation and to test the legibility underwater, and I think this was the first orange dial that I took with me for a swim. And once again, yes, I have to endorse the colors proposed by the brand. I think no matter the seriousness or the purpose of a tool watch, such colors are appreciated by the enthusiasts. And I do love the fact that Edox kind of extended the Sea Dweller Deepsea model with such details and colors. And yes, I do think this was intended to be a Rolex Sea Dweller Deepsea, but happier. And I'm obviously curious to know, what do you think about this Edox Skydiver Neptunian tool? Please let me know in the comments section. And if you're new here, please consider subscribing for future episodes. Thank you very much, thanks for watching, and until next time, be brave but stay safe.